What's going on, everyone? Today I've got a new welder here. This is the ArcCaptain TIG 200P AC/DC machine. Now, the welder that I use most commonly is my AHP Welders 203XI, and it's been a great machine for me. I've had it for a few years now or so, and I paid I think around $1,000 for it when I initially got it. And this appears to be a pretty close competitor to that, something that's super close on Amazon. And from what I'm told, it's supposed to be one of the best welding machines under $1,000. Of course, that is somebody else's opinion. I have no idea yet, but I am looking forward to trying this. Now, of course, as the name implies, this is an AC/DC welder, so it does have the ability to do things like aluminum as well as the normal materials that I do, like regular steel, stainless steel, titanium, etc. So, looking forward to trying this out. We've got a couple of projects that we're going to look at as well with it, but first I'm going to unbox the machine, and I also got the foot pedal for it as well, as that's my preferred method. So, let's open it up, see what we get inside of this box. All right, so got everything unboxed here. Now, of course, we've got the machine itself. Size-wise, appears to be a little bit smaller than my AHP. We'll take a look once we swap out on the cart itself, but overall, it's red. What do you know? We'll take a look at the display and all that once we get everything plugged in. We've got our torch lead here, of course. Now, one thing that is probably worth noting is that oftentimes on machines that I've got in the past, they've got a real big bulky handle, and because they've often had like a wheel and the trigger kind of incorporated into it, this one runs it a little bit differently. It's still a large diameter handle itself. It is, I would not say that that is a flex head, so that's okay. But the trigger that it includes is this one that zip ties to the handle. I've seen these a lot of times in the past. It's okay. I assume that this is just an on-off. That's not ideal for me. You know, even being a hobbyist, I much prefer a foot pedal rather than a trigger like this. So I am likely going to remove the trigger here, and we're going to use that accessory with the pedal itself. So, you know, if you don't want to have to buy a pedal right away, you don't need to, but you're not going to have the same amount of control, I don't believe, because I don't think that this is a linear switch. But beyond that, it does have a rubber lead on it. This is going to be pretty easy to remove generally. I don't know if we're going to have to, we should be able to retain the protective sleeve on the torch lead. But anyway, beyond that, of course, you've got your ground lead, or, you know, of course with TIG, I guess it's technically the opposite, but cable is nice and flexible, which is good. Doesn't put a lot of strain on, especially with, I'm doing small parts. So sometimes the ground leads can be really overbearing. This one's not too bad. I usually add an auxiliary strap to it, and then I use a smaller piece of the copper grounding strap to go to my work piece itself. You've got your 110 to 220 adapter in case you're just running a standard wall outlet. You can do that on the lower amperage stuff. Nice to have. If you plan to do stick welding, it includes that. I've never used these. For me, it's just not the type of work that I do. You've got your gas valve or your gas hose itself, and nice thing is that it does include your regulator or flow meter, which is nice. Normally these are extra, not always included, so I like to see that. Beyond that, you also have some of your TIG torch accessories with a number of cups, 4, 5, and 6 cup. Then you've got some different collet sizes and back caps. I don't see any tungsten in here. Well, actually, looks like there is. There's a single piece of gray tungsten. I don't know exactly what that one is off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. I typically use a 2% thoriated, so that's pink or red, I believe. And then if you have some stickers, certified badass welder. I'm a dad and a welder. Nothing scares me. Support your local welder. Flash life. Interesting. Before we get it set up on the cart, I do want to open the pedal as well. Pedal feels all right. Nothing special, but not I mean, it feels very similar to the ones that I've used from like Yes Welder. Then we've got 2 control cables in here, which link machine. I don't know why we have 2. They are different though. Interesting. Well, I guess we'll figure out why I've got 2, or I'm just going to end up with an extra one and wonder why. And then we have a welding magnet. I guess they just include a couple of right angle magnets for you. Okay, let's get these swapped over onto the cart. All right, as I mentioned, I want to remove the on torch trigger that they've got set up here. So I'm going to cut the zip ties, remove the tape here, and then we need to pull this cable from outside, from this inside of this protective coat or covering that they've got on the whip. So that's what we're going to do next. So all we had to do is really pull on that to get through there. A little bit of a fight, but not much. And as I did expect, it's not a linear switch by any means. It's just a very simple toggle that has a fancy little plastic trigger cover that goes over top of it. There's nothing to this thing. Now we're going to swap the pedal in and the cable that hooks up to it. The other one says link machine. Again, I don't know what the purpose of that one is, but this is a pretty simple swap over for the install. Now, before we can do anything, we do need to set up the torch. I'll look at what accessories they give us first. We'll set it up with this just to test, and then we can go from there in the future. Now, as I mentioned, they did give us 1 piece of tungsten, and this is a gray. I believe that this is 3/32 tungsten. I typically use 1/16 or smaller, so rather than sharpen that, I just grabbed some tungsten that I have around here. And let's just check if they give us collets that go small enough. Yeah, so they do give us a collet for 1/16, so that's good for me. All right, so we've set up our torch head. I threw a number 5 cup on there currently. I usually use a gas lens setup, but for this, I'm just setting it up with the things that they give us other than, you know, like I said, I did swap out my tungsten. You're gonna wanna get a pack of tungstens anyway, and then my tungsten was just a little bit too long to use the stubby cap on the back, which again, I do try and use a really compact torch head setup just because I'm usually working in some really tight areas personally, but that's gonna be just a personal preference thing depending on what your working situation is. Anyway, from here, let's plug the machine in and take a look at the interface. Display brightness is nice. All that looks good. Set your, first screen is all just about your max amperage on that. Looks like it'll go down to 10 amps at the lowest. So from here, we're currently set on to stick AC TIG, DC TIG. DC TIG is what I use most commonly, but AC TIG on occasion. So set to AC TIG there. Again, goes down to 10 amps. 2T, 4T, and spot. Oh, it does have a spot function. Okay, we'll give that a shot too. 2T is our most common, especially when using a pedal, because that allows you to just vary your pedal. 4T is going to be something that you're probably going to use more often with a trigger like that, where you can click it once and it'll go on, you let go, and then you click it again and it'll turn off. Not something I've ever actually personally used or found use for in my work. So 2T, and then we'll try spot as well. Pulse is something that I do use. Currently it says no, so I assume that just says no and yes. That's how they determine if it is running pulse. I do commonly run pulse. So to navigate through this menu structure down here, which I'll walk you through, you press in on the rotary dial, and then you're going to scroll along as the flashing things. So let's start all the way down here at the far left side. So you're gonna highlight and then go all the way over. Now, this is going to be our pre-flow gas. So for pre-flow gas, depending on what I'm doing, I'm going to usually run about 1 second or a half a second if I'm just running steel. If I'm running tubing, especially small diameter tubing, sometimes I'll run more to try and get a little bit of gas around the whole workpiece. So this will go up to 5 seconds of pre-flow. So depending on what you're doing, especially if it's like titanium, sometimes I'll run those higher numbers like that. But for now, I'm going to set it at we'll set it at 1 second. Yeah. From there, our upslope, our initial base. For me, when I'm doing really small material, oftentimes like 0.035 wall is what I'm using. So 10 amps, I'm going to run that small. So the time for the upslope itself, this is going to be the time from when it starts to when it goes up to its peak amperage. Now, it depends on what my peak amperage is, but I'm gonna keep that at like, I don't oftentimes run much upslope, so let's just run it a second for today. Now my peak amperage, oftentimes when I'm doing thin wall tubing, I'll run 35 amps. Or if I'm, with a pedal, I have a little bit more control. Let's give myself up to 45, and then I just don't have to peg the pedal. My base, this is my low amperage setting on the pulse. I'm going to set that at its lowest at 10. Now our hertz, how many pulses per second? Let's 5 pulses per second is fine. I don't have a problem with that. What will it go up to? Let's just see. It'll run up to 200 hertz. So there you go. I've never ran up that high before. We're just going to leave it at 5. This is our pulse percentage. This is the amount of time it spends at peak amperage. So 50-50 would be half the time at the base at 10 and then half at our whatever our pedal is set to. So we'll set it at about 60 for now. Then our time on the downslope, half a second is fine. I'll probably use the pedal for the downslope most of the time anyway. Our final amperage, I'm going to set that at its minimum. And our post-flow gas, I'm going to run that at 3 seconds for now. Menu structure on this, not too bad. I would say that it likes to cancel out of the menu a little fast. Maybe that's only an issue that I'm having when I'm trying to do like a demonstration like this, but I don't know. That's a super minor thing. I wish it maybe held its position for 5 more seconds before wanting to cancel out of it. But that's all it takes to get this thing set up. So now we can turn on our gas and strike an arc, see how it works. One more thing to note that I did see is that they do have an app. So it's called the Transparency app, where you can do all of these settings, available for both Android and iPhone. I'm not big on app control stuff like this, especially just for my welder. I'm just going to run it this way. But if you like app control, then, that's an option for you. For our first test of the ArcCaptain here, I've got some 3/16" DOM tubing with an 0.35 wall thickness. This is regular mild steel tubing, not stainless. And we're going to be TIG brazing rather than TIG welding. So silicon bronze is our filler. This is a common use case for me. This is PLA fixturing, so we want to get a solid tack on these tubes, but not have to fully weld it out, as you'll end up catching fire to stuff. But a little bit of melting or a popping of a zip tie, no big deal, as long as we get a good strong tack and everything stays in alignment while it's still in the fixturing, then we're good. This is a multi-piece fixture set, so you can unbolt it and collapse it inside when you're done, leaving your tube structure exactly as you intended at the end. So anyway, we've got a handful of these joints already coped and set. I'm running similar settings to what I normally do. The one thing that I have done is taking our clamp here, and I've added a strap to it. This is just a regular copper strap, a regular like ground strap that you can get. I buy them in like a 10-pack, and I've put it onto my lead here, and then I can use this to attach to my actual workpiece, as trying to get this whole clamp onto there is a little bit more than I like to try and do. So this is just an easy method for me. Usually I'll use like a binder clip, or if I can just get a solid contact like that, then I don't really have to worry about it, and I still have the flexibility to move stuff around. But improves my quality of life quite a bit here. We're gonna get this fired up using the settings that we talked about previously. I need to turn up my gas flow a little bit, but otherwise, super smooth. I'm gonna lighten my hood up just a little bit. I feel like the arc initiation on this is smoother than my AHP. I'm not really sure. The one thing is that this is a WP26 torch that's much larger than I need for my uses. I think I want to change this out to something considerably smaller. I think like the WP17 is more along the size that I'm used to. And for the size and the amperage of materials that I'm normally working on, I think that would be a little bit bigger. That's the only thing that I need to be a little bit more comfortable is the smaller size torch that I'm more accustomed to. That's as smooth as any TIG I've used. Now, granted, the caveats are I am a hobbyist. I'm not a talented or a professional TIG welder at all, but I've used a lot of TIG machines now from YouTube. So, you know, the AHP, the Yes welders, the thermal, what did I have? The first one I had, the thermal something. Then I had oh man, had a handful in there, like one or two more in there in the mix as well. But thermal arc was the first one I had. My very first TIG. It was lift TIG only, but this is working great. I'm super happy. Now, I need to try the DC side, and I also want to try the spot function. So I'm going to grab a couple of pieces of scrap tube, get them coped together, and just try spot, fusing them, kind of like I would do in here maybe if I was able to without adding too much heat in places. It's something that I've wanted to experiment more with. I had a previous welder that had the function that I just never quite got the hang of. Let's see what we can do with this one. To turn it into spot mode, again, it's over here. So it's 2T, 4T, and then spot. All right, so now we've switched the machine over to the AC side. Now I am an absolute amateur noob at AC welding. I've done AC TIG welding on aluminum 3 times ever, and I haven't practiced at all since then. This is the first time, so we're gonna see how this goes. These are some 1/8" coupons, and I'm running 43 3/32 filler. See how this goes. Again, I'll put my settings for this up on the screen because there's more than I know how to memorize. I'm just gonna go in with a suggested base setting setup. Now, I've got my coupons setting right on a steel base. I don't have any gap or anything like that underneath of them, so a little bit about what we're trying here. Let's see what I can do. AC TIG gets me every time, just how much louder it is and how much different it is from standard steel TIG. I got my puddle good and contaminated there at the end. Now, I'm not getting much penetration through the backside here. Again, this is likely 100% me. That feels very familiar to the last 3 times. Sorry, it's AC TIG. It's a whole different sound.
Somebody be fucking electrocuted.
Oh, I totally agree.
I thought you stuck a fork in lights on me. I was like, oh, this is going to be a long night.
No.
Yeah. Yell if you can.
I'm done. That's the last of it. Nicole came out to the garage because she thought I was being electrocuted by the sound of AC TIG. All I know is that this machine will do it if I need it to do it. As I could tell from looking at the backside of the coupons, my penetration wasn't that far. Sitting directly on a steel plate, definitely not going, I don't think it's going to help that at all. I should have spaced it up a little bit with like a couple of other coupons or something like that, but you know, I was just wanting to test it, see that it worked as much as I remember. And if I need to weld some aluminum, I know that at least I have the tools capable to do it. So after my initial tests, I got to use the machine for another couple of weeks now, and overall, I've been super happy with it. Now, I did end up putting my gas lens on there. This is a Furic FUPA cup, same tungsten that I have been using, 1/16, 2% red tungsten on that. I have gotten used to the size of the torch on this. This is, again, a WP26. On my other machines, I'm running, I think, a WP17 with a flex head, and that is something that I think I probably will change over to, but initially when I first used this, I thought I was gonna have to do it much quicker just because I wasn't used to it as much. But I did get used to it, even though switching out a torch head is so inexpensive that it's something that I'll still probably do. I didn't go back and do any of the spot welding testing. I did confirm that the spot welding doesn't work with the pedal. You have to use the trigger style. Maybe I'll try that out. It's easy. I don't have to run it all the way through that sheathing again. If I want to run it, I can just run it auxiliary and find a way to make that work. But I don't know. If it's something that I really think that I want to dive into, then I'll try and set that up. And again, on the AC side of things, as I mentioned, I don't do AC welding often. I've had to do it a couple of times, you know, like helping some people out, doing some things like that. But it's just not something that I normally do. But I do want the machine that I have as my like primary TIG to have that capability in case those situations do come up. But overall, I'm super happy with it. The menu structure is maybe the only thing that I don't love as much. My AHP, you could toggle through and it would hold the position of wherever you were selecting. This one, it likes to cancel out and go back to the, you know, the main peak amperage parameter quicker than I would like. But that's really my only gripe as far as that goes. Everything else is super straightforward, just like just about every other machine that I've had in that way. So bang for the buck, it seems like this one is a pretty good deal and something that I'm enjoying. I don't really have a reason to switch back over to my AHP. I'm just going to leave this one on the cart as my primary now, and we're going to call that good. They do have a couple of super budget friendly options, very similar to the 205P from Yes Welder that I had reviewed in the past, and it was a really good option for just like if you want to get into TIG welding, especially in like the RC world, which is where I generally live. If you want to get into something that's super inexpensive, they've got an option for that as well. And I may do a separate video on that one here soon, just because I do like the way that this goes. And if you guys are looking for other super budget friendly options, that looks like a pretty decent one. So maybe we'll look forward to those here in the coming weeks or months, depending on how scheduling works. ArcCaptain also makes a bunch of other types of machines like plasma cutters and MIG welders, just a bunch of things in, 6-in-1 units, things like that. So if you're interested, so far, this is the first experience I've had with the brand. So I was, wanted to be a little bit critical up until I tried it, but so far so good. They're running a bunch of Black Friday deals. So if you're looking for a machine around the time of year this video actually gets posted, might be worth checking out as well. But that is going to do it for the 200P AC/DC machine review. For somebody like me, it's a fantastic tool at a great price point. If you are a more serious fabricator, probably still gonna do the job really well, but my experience is limited to the type of work that I do, so I can only speak to that level. But I'm enjoying it. Hopefully, if you're in the market for it, you'd enjoy it as well. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticism of my poor welding technique, there's a comment section below for all of that. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't, there's a button for that as well. Subscribe if you haven't already. See you guys on the next one.